people to drink and drive. There's so many other options out there. It's so, if you're both drunk, you don't drive. I don't know. Kids today are smarter, thank God. And they call Uber or car or a friend, whatever. They don't get in the car. But especially after your last conviction, I read about it. I mean, you fractured the skull. You're so lucky you haven't killed someone yet. I just don't understand why you would make the same mistake. I'd be afraid to drive at all if I injured someone so badly. I mean, these are life-altering injuries that your victims are faced with. Makes no sense. You can't drive your own car, but you can drive somebody else's. I mean,
I don't know if kids are smarter today, but I agree. It is absolutely astonishing that someone would get into a car when you have all of those apps available. But especially when you're a repeat offender like she is. We're going to watch this parole hearing and I'll unpack it with the details at the end.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Vanessa S DOC, inmate number 439265. She is serving a sentence of 10 years, 54 months, 5 years probation for evading illegal operation of a motor vehicle without an ignition device, illegal operation of a motor vehicle, influence third offense, and assault second with a motor vehicle. As of today, records reflect parole eligibility date of May 3rd, 2024. There is no victim input in the case. There's an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed to show she has completed the Tier 2 program. Utilizing the women's arrest assessment order, the overall scope for recidivating fall to the moderate range. Ms. Owens, do you need to tell the board why you believe you should be granted parole? You may begin.
If I may read this, please.
Sure.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I would like to first respectfully thank you for allowing me to speak my truth. I sincerely appreciate the privilege. This has been my first time incarcerated, and I've spent approximately 871 days as of today at YCI. I can wholeheartedly say that I am not the same woman who entered those many days ago. Being incarcerated forced me to change my life in a way I did not have the courage to do so on my own. I've been an electrician for over 15 years, and I realized the environment, the coworkers, the constant pressures and stress of having things done by yesterday, expectations that were nearly impossible, working over 40 hours a week to meet deadlines and inspections. I became emotionally drained and physically tired. I used alcohol as my crutch. Again, and once again, it magnified all my problems in my life. I stopped taking care of myself. My sobriety took a backseat. I didn't have the courage to change my career because of the money, and I thought, how would I pay my bills? I lived alone. In the end, I lost it all anyways. And I ended up paying a very high price for my lack of responsibility, my mental health, not putting my sobriety first. I hurt and seriously affected innocent people, lives, the victims I hurt, and that weighs heavy on my heart. I've put my family and friends through an emotional roller coaster. And for that, I am sincerely and wholeheartedly sorry for my poor choices and lack of responsibility. During my time here at York, away from the outside world, it allowed me to really sit in my own skin, to ask myself questions, to be honest, raw, and dig deep, to focus on solely me. I've been in the Tier 4 program where I learned that I have struggled with a lot of emotional pain, how important forgiveness is, all the emotional pain from childhood into my teenage years. Trauma therapy was suggested, and I will look into that if allowed to go home. I wrote my thesis paper per se to complete the program on sexual assault, what it is in my experience, and I have never shared so openly and honestly in front of so many women. For me, that was an amazing experience. I learned the value of breathing techniques, being mindful of my thoughts, using coping skills consistently, creating new habits. I tried my best to practice what I learned during my time here. And what better place to practice patience, awareness of my behaviors, my thoughts, the breathing techniques taught, journaling, sitting in my uncomfortable feelings and getting through them than in this prison environment. I wasn't perfect, but I tried. In tier four, I had the privilege of being nominated to become an ally, taking more responsibility, running meetings, working with the counselors directly, helping the new girls become adjusted, or to simply offer an ear to listen and to be there for another woman. I did struggle at that time in the environment. I'm human. With 80 women, 80 personalities in one large room, in very close proximity, 4 showers, 5 toilets, it was a lot. The 10 months I was there was not always easy, but my intentions and heart was always in the right place. I then decided to place myself in tier 2 with Counselor Cohen's. And I was told if I wanted to work on myself, dig deep, change, she was the one I needed to meet. The 4 months in that program is where I grew the most as an individual. I really felt safe being vulnerable, to really open up, share my truth, my struggles, my insecurities, my fears, at times to just sit and cry. I dropped my wall down, and I had not felt that kind of emotional relief and freedom in a very long time. I struggled with trusting people and asking for help, so that was a huge hurdle I crossed. I learned that 10% of my issues is alcohol and 90% is me. How important self-care is and how critical it is for my sobriety. Along with programming, I've had a job in laundry for well over a year. I attended school and I'm just in the tail end of finishing hospitality program. I've attended groups where available in the units I've been in, AA meetings, NA meetings, codependency, Women for Sobriety, art groups, and open gym time. I've learned how important staying appropriate. So after all my days here programming and essentially isolated from the outside world, the big question I ask is, what am I going to do different? I know that I'm a repeat offender. Do I have the honesty, the willingness, and open-mindedness to do whatever it takes to stay sober? And that although I'm an alcoholic, I am responsible for my recovery. So what are the things that I need to do in order to be the person I am deep down? I am making a decision today to connect with my sponsor, Ms. Carol, who I've been kept in touch with and who is patiently waiting for me. And she suggested as soon as I get home to get on a 90 and 90 meetings in 90 days and continue so after that. There are daily morning and evening meetings at the Fellowship Center in Danbury and more throughout the week at different local churches. I plan to connect back with NCCA and utilize their services. I've been there and familiar with the staff there. So I'm making a choice and a decision to be resilient and to honor my father, to the victims I hurt, my family, my friends, my community, and myself to do whatever it takes to stay sober and continue my healing journey. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement, Ms. Silva. We do have questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll deliberate and give you our decision. And we'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Palmieri. Thank you.
Thank you. So Ms. Silva, that was a very well thought out opening statement. I, commend you on really giving some thought and putting all that together.
Thank you.
I do have some follow-up questions for you. And let's start with the instant offense, the charges that you're incarcerated for. So it's assault to a motor vehicle under the influence and evading responsibility and no ignition device. So I read in the police report that you were driving because you were the most sober of the two.
Correct. I was hanging out with a gentleman and he seemed more drunk than I was. And I decided to let me drive.
And there was a lot of empty alcohol containers in the car. Were they yours?
Some were mine. I believe some were his. It was his vehicle.
It was his vehicle. That
Correct. That's why I did not have the intellect device.
Did you have that in your car?
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you supposed to have that in your vehicle?
For approximately 3 years.
How long had it been in your car before you were arrested?
I believe, I want to say 1.5 years.
And was that in your work vehicle? Because you were working as an electrician at the time?
That was my personal vehicle. At the time, I had a coworker with me in the van and he drove.
Okay. And this is your third DUI,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? So with that, I'm going to assume that you've done quite a bit of treatment for alcohol abuse.
I have gone to a rehab once
But
and some
inpatient,
IOP.
inpatient, okay?
Yes.
Well, and did you do other outpatient programs?
I've done it once, I believe once recently at MCCA.
So with the first or the second DUI, you weren't required to do treatment?
I did do treatment at the second DUI, yes.
And the first?
The first, no. I had to, they didn't send me to treatment. I was about 23. I think I had to do a victims panel. And I did have to do it was at MCCA, I believe a driving,
Education class,
Yeah.
yeah.
correct, that's
Correct, the alcohol education. So, and this is this offense is your second driving under the influence where there was a motor vehicle accident.
correct.
This is sort of an obvious question, but why did you leave the scene of the accident?
I think I panicked. I was drunk. And, I know it wasn't the right decision and I panicked and I ran.
Yeah, you went back to the car though, you went back to the truck to retrieve what? Got
Oh, it was
out
my
of the
book.
truck?
It was my book bag. Yes.
Okay. Much else to talk about those offenses. So our information differs a little bit from your accounts of your programming at the facility. So there seems to be a discrepancy whether or not you completed the Marilyn Baker program or you were officially removed.
I was officially removed. I'm going to say I did not get the certificate, but I did complete the program. I was there for 10 months. I was an ally. One of the criteria to become an ally was to be a graduate of the program. It's a very selected few. And I lost it. I'm not proud of it. I went to SAG. It was Christmas Day. I was emotionally down. It was the second holiday there. I didn't handle it well, but it's what happened.
You have you have 5 other disciplinary reports. What is it that you had in your cell? What are all the homemade items?
I think those are crochet items. A lot of times we have too many things, or if they're multicolored, they take them away. If we have too many shirts or too many socks, too many items, those such things.
Did you take them away and then put them back?
No, they take them, they remove them.
You completed the Tier 2 program.
Correct.
How is that different from the Marilyn Baker program?
I think I grew more in there. I think because it was a lot smaller, it was a lot more intimate. Counselor Cohen's was an awesome counselor. She was really able to, she had a way to really make you feel safe. And make you feel okay to be vulnerable, which I struggled a lot through my life. I struggled with asking for help, and she made it safe to talk about the things that bothered me and the fears and my insecurities and things that happened in my past. And also to take responsibility of what I've done, that, it's not just the alcohol, it's me. I'm the biggest problem, and I need to take responsibility and take care of myself. I'm almost 40 years old and this is not the life I want. I don't want to hurt innocent people. I know I have so much more potential.
And I would agree with that. That you do have potential. You obviously have skills. I know you don't want to go back to being an electrician, but
Correct.
that's not easy to do. I would think it's not easy to do as a female.
Correct.
You talked in your opening statement about what your goals are for release. You talked about outside treatment. You talked about 90/90. You mentioned a sponsor. Is
Correct.
this a sponsor that you had prior to being incarcerated?
I did have prior to being incarcerated, yes. And she was always there for me, but I drifted off. That was my fault. I didn't put my recovery first, you know. And I think it all kind of started with the COVID and the trickle down and the meetings changing and things closing down, and it was a trickling effect. But you know, I kept in contact with her. She's listening right now. She's kept in contact with my mother, you know, asked if she needs anything. And that's the community of being around sober people and being in meetings and having a sponsor, you know, and loving me no matter what.
Tell me your experience of being going to meetings in the community. How long? What kind of sobriety you have prior to this?
I had my longest sobriety time was about 3.5 years. And when I put my sobriety first, I was chairing meetings. I was taking commitments. I remember I was doing HNI, which was going into other rehabs and bringing guest speakers there, or maybe speaking on behind my half. And it's something very healing when you can be vulnerable and we're helping each other out at that time. You know, they're keeping me clean. I'm being responsible, being there every Sunday at 7 p.m. every week, you know, whether I feel like going or not, you know, that's my responsibility. And it may be the one thing that I say or the one woman that I brought to speak that may help that one woman who needed to hear that, or, wow, you know, that's my same experience. I can do this, you know. So I need to remember, I have to put my sobriety first. I can't let people pay bills. People have families, you know, it's no excuse for me to, you know, oh, I can't do this. I'm overwhelmed. You know, if that's the case, then, you know what, I need to change my career. I need to do something that is a little bit less stressful, you know, maybe not as time consuming, maybe, you know, and I never had the courage to do that. I think I'm stubborn in that way. You know, I was good at it. I made good money. I was licensed by the state, you know, and it didn't serve me over time. It was too much for me, you know, and I needed to become humble. And if I need to get a job at a grocery store, then that's what I need to do. You know, that's what I need to do. Because I gotta change. I gotta change.
You do need to change, right? You need to.
And I have changed my time.
You're 38 years old.
Correct.
And in jail, right?
All right.
It's unfortunate. And like you said, there's victims.
Right.
I can't help but, you know, one of the victims, the other car that you hit, she was a teacher. You know, I felt very sad when she said she missed her kids, you know, because she couldn't go back to school. I mean, it changes people's lives, but you know that. You know that. What's your experience with CCAR?
The only thing that I've learned about CCAR was my time that I met with Miss Kane in Tier 4, and she was awesome. She comes in here and donates her time and does the recovery coach program. I don't personally have experience with CCAR, but I recently saw her. She told me, Vanessa, they opened a brand new facility in Danbury. Like, hello, you know, she's like, go there. You know, there they have, you know, I can have my own recovery coach who I can speak. It's almost like another sponsor. I know they can get you to meetings if you don't have a ride. All different types of kinds of meetings. They have things that you can get together to go hiking, or maybe sober things to do at the park. She's like, you know, it's extra support. It's extra sober community for you.
It's a sober community.
It's what I need.
It's a community.
Correct. It's a community. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of living, and that's what I need to do,
Were you out on bond while the case was pending after your arrest?
No, I was not.
You were not. Okay. And why didn't you post bond?
One, I didn't want to put my mother through that, my family for that money. And two, I needed to be here. Something had to stop me. Because I couldn't do it myself. I did not have the courage. I was in it. I was in my addiction. I knew I needed to stay here. I needed to stay here.
All right, Ms. Silva, thank you very much for answering my questions.
Thank you.
So Ms. Silva, are you an alcoholic?
Yes, I am.
When did you come to that realization?
Probably my early 30s.
Okay. So what led to your relapse in this offense?
I think it all started with the COVID. Not working as much. I was only able to work in New York. The in-person meetings all changed. We didn't know after a while about the Zoom. I wasn't seeing my parole officer at the time. I couldn't go to the gym. I was living alone. Couldn't see family. If someone my world became very small.
Yeah.
It became very small.
The person that you were with, did he know you were an alcoholic? You're an alcoholic?
I think he knew.
Oh, you didn't tell him? You didn't come out and say, hey,
I didn't tell him. He was a coworker.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, what I struggle with is at this day and age, there's no reason for people to drink and drive. There's so many other options out there. It's so, if you're both drunk, you don't drive. I don't know. Kids today are smarter, thank God. And they call Uber or car or a friend, whatever. They don't get in the car. But especially after your last conviction, I read about it. I mean, you fractured the skull. You're so lucky you haven't killed someone yet. I just don't understand why you would make the same mistake. I'd be afraid to drive at all if I injured someone so badly. I mean, these are life-altering injuries that your victims are faced with. Makes no sense. You can't drive your own car, but you can drive somebody else's. I mean, I don't know. And very disappointing. I have the notes from your Tier 4 program. The reason you were in there for so long before they discharged you with a program failure is because you had issues along the way and you had to keep repeating the stages. It wasn't one thing. I'm reading all about different things that were happening throughout. We don't see poor evaluations ever. Maybe a fair, maybe a good. We never see straight poor. Have you seen your evaluation?
I've seen it. I think she took it very personal. I think she really wanted me to do well. And I understand that. I'm not saying that I was right. I'm not saying I handled that correctly. The environment is very stressful. It's a 6-month program. I was in there for 10 months. I've never been around so many women. It's one big room where literally your next bed is 3 feet away. And there's times that I have to ask for help. I have taken initiative and I spoke to Ms. Reno and, hey, I'm really uncomfortable. Things are going on. And, at the same time, we're going through talking about family stuff and we're talking about, sexual assault. We're at the same time, I'm going through all those feelings as well, and you have no time alone. It's not that I'm in a cell. It's an open dorm. There's no silence. There's no time to just maybe sit by yourself and just reflect. It was hard. It was hard. I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying
right.
I handled it right.
It's supposed to be hard. That's the point.
Correct.
It's supposed to be hard.
Correct. But I'm human. I struggled. I didn't handle it perfectly. But I was an ally. I did do good. They would have not wanted me to become an ally and give me more responsibilities if they didn't see something in me. Can I be stubborn? Yeah. but I always had my heart and I had good intentions, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I wasn't being malicious, you know? It was probably the feelings I was feeling were very heavy.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've struggled with that evaluation as well, tier 4. But you said something was going on in Christmas that created some stress for you. What was that?
I think it was spending my second holiday there. We were on lockdown. You know, I spoke to my mother, you know, she was just all over the place. You know, February was just around the corner. That's when my father suddenly passed away. He had a stroke. So I think it just felt down, you know, and at the same time, I was struggling with counselors at that time and things were going on, with disagreements. And I asked, you know, could I get moved or maybe put me into a corner, put me in a different spot? So I think I felt I just wasn't being heard.
So you get out, Christmas comes around again, and you got stressors going on. How do you handle it? If you couldn't handle it in this particular environment, how do you handle it?
I mean, now it's completely different. You know, I'll be around my family. You know, I have sponsors. I have a community of people. I can go to a meeting if I really needed to. I can pick up the phone. You know, I'm not locked down in this one bed. You know, there's so many other healthy outlets I could do, and people to turn to.
You had no one to turn to in this particular program?
What's that?
You had no one to turn to in this particular program when you had those stressors going on? And
I mean, there was people around me, you know, probably other girls, but everybody, you know, was in their own thing. Some girls are sleeping, some girls are, you know, that's my process of asking for help, you know.
Okay, listen, thank you so much for answering my question.
Thank you.
Okay, give us a few minutes to discuss your case and we will give you our decision shortly.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Ms. Palmer?
Well, I'm just gonna say right off the bat. Couple things. So, you know, immediately the charges are very serious, serious injuries, and it's her second
Right.
assault with motor vehicle. It is, she was in that program for 10 months. She had to get something from it. You can't be there for 10 months and get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
She did the tier 2 program, completed that. She reports that she had some sobriety in the community. I think we hear a lot about COVID and the bumps in the road and the difficulties that individuals have, and I can imagine that somebody with substance abuse struggles probably a little bit more than maybe another. She's got these disciplinary reports, which, you know, are concerning. What I do like what I'm hearing is the plan for going out in the community. The support she has through her family, some very specific programs and sober networks that she has for that. You know, she's definitely employable. I don't that certainly is not the issue.
Yeah.
I do also appreciate that she's recognized what her mental health needs are. They seem to be being addressed at the facility also. So what I'm having trouble getting over is the second offense with the same
thing, yeah.
She wasn't on probation at the time. She wasn't, but I go back to, this is her first incarceration.
Yep.
So very
somehow,
often, somehow, but very often it can be a wake-up call. It can be that piece that points somebody in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
But I am undecided. I will say though that I do think she has a strong release plan. And sponsor, we don't always hear such detail put in place, going out. So I do think that she has given it some good thought. And I did think her opening statement really was genuine.
Yeah. All right. So I will not be supporting a grant of parole today, basically for the reason you said. It's a, second time with very serious injuries. And I think there's still work to be done here. I think she's trying, and I think the real test will be when she gets up there and has to face everyday life and temptations. And for me, it's about community safety, public safety. I'm not willing to put the community at risk, because next time it could be fatal. And I think
I would agree with that as
permanent
well.
injuries that these victims are suffering from.
Yeah. Yeah, but she presented very well in her opening statement.
Yeah.
She really did. I think she really got some places with herself and with her own insight.
Yeah.
What her issues are and what her problems are. But I do think that she could use a little bit more work. I'm not really there today either.
She's got 2 years to end the sentence. Is there any thought about maybe bringing her back in a year?
I would not. My reasons won't change.
She could do good intentions, bad choices, which is on her list.
Right. But for me, it's the nature and circumstance of the actual offense that's not going to change. I don't know.
Well, for me,
You guys-
it's also nature and circumstances. That's that. You're right. That's not going to change.
All right. I'll make the vote. In the matter of Vanessa Silva, inmate number 439265, I'll make a motion to deny parole due to the nature and circumstance of the current offense. Do you want to add anything? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Oh, okay.
I would have liked to bring her back. Here.
Okay, but are you opposed to the denial?
I'm not opposed to the.
Okay. Okay. So it's a unanimous decision. For the record, board member Deborah Smith Palmieri would have had a rehear. Okay, so you do have 5 years of probation. We hope you'll take the remaining time here to continue to do programming and work on yourself, and then take advantage of the supported probation. We wish you the best.
Okay, thank you.
This concludes the hearing for Vanessa Silva, inmate number 439265.
This woman is dangerous, so dangerous. This is her second crash. The first one, she greatly injures, nearly kills someone. They give her probation. Thank you, Richard, for the info. I'm looking at it on the other chart here. When she did it in 2015, they gave her 5 years jail, but they suspended the sentence. And, I guess she went 7 years at that point without getting in trouble. But then she gets into her coworker's car, because she's not allowed to drive without the device, and seriously injures two and runs. And then they give her this sentence. And I'm happy they denied her. She's going to have to wait 2 years and 2 months for a full term date before she gets out, which is 8/3/2026. Time of this parole hearing was 6/21/2024. So like 2 years, 2 months. This is a good Connecticut board, probably as good as it gets. Arjeny, Palmieri. Well, actually, Turner's good too. So it's a good board though. Arjeny, Palmieri, and Rodriguez. I know Rodriguez sounds like Paul, the history teacher. It's not. Different person, and much more sane. So 36-year-old Bethel woman was arrested on charge of second-degree assault with a motor vehicle Monday afternoon. Police said she was involved in a two-vehicle hit-and-run crash that left 2 people injured. She was also charged with evading responsibility, causing physical injury, interfering with the police officer, driving under the influence, failure to keep right, illegal operation of a motor vehicle without an ignition device, because it was her coworker's vehicle. The head-on collision occurred around 7:45 p.m. I mean, it's like, what situation can someone be in where they just don't say, let's take an Uber? It's not even her car. She's with her coworker. Oh, I'm more sober than I'll drive. What? The head-on collision occurred around 7:45 p.m. Upon officers' arrival, it was determined that a black 2018 Chevy Silverado traveling westbound on Sugar Street at the curve of Dodgington Road had crossed over the center line, striking head-on with a black 2018 Cadillac ATS, which was in the eastbound lane of Sugar Street. The operator of the Cadillac, who police did not identify, seriously injured, including a compound fracture to her ankle. According to police, the passenger's Chevy was also seriously injured, including a broken femur. Wow, her passenger suffered a broken femur. Oh my God. That's intense. So she ran out of the vehicle, she ran like on foot. Both people were transported to the hospital. Silva was identified as the driver, but she had fled from the scene on foot. What a clown. Oh my gosh. This woman is dangerous. She goes in the coworker, some reason gets in the car, head-on collision. It's so violent. He breaks his femur. They've injured the other two. She gets a compound fracture to her foot. I mean, you're talking about, this is a violent crash. And she runs off on foot. She didn't get a long enough sentence, if you ask me. Dangerous. She got a 54-month sentence. All she has to do is call an Uber. I don't know how you only get 54 months for this, for all the things she violated. It's like they still are coddling her. Sylvia was witnessed entering woods between Dodgetown Road and Flat Swap Road. Following a search by officers around the immediate area, she was taken into custody with that issue. She was treated as with minor, and they always have minor injuries. They say because you're, I guess, more relaxed, your body doesn't tense up because of the alcohol, so you don't have serious injuries. What a light sentence. I don't get it. How do you even get that light sentence when she was backing 5 years? She had, I guess, is it possible that she had completed her probation? So she wasn't back in those 5 years at the time of this? Maybe that's why. Because that accident happened in 2015, sentenced in 2016. She had 5 years jail, suspended, probation 5. So I don't know if that doubles as 10. She was, it's not clear to me. But either way, it seems like a pretty light sentence. I don't know why you don't give 10 years so that she has that time hanging over her head. If they do decide to parole, but she completely flunks the program. They've never seen anyone with that type of review. She doesn't participate. She makes up this weird childish excuse about not participating, and just insane. But at least they denied her, and no rehearing. We're going to jump into another person who likes to drink his vehicle while driving. So with that, let's jump in.
My concern is that you had multiple convictions for driving while intoxicated. You drove your car into the water, putting yourself at risk and whoever else was in the car, because there appears that there was another person in the car. And then you have a domestic.
Well, this is a case Mr. Mirabello would have been chopping at the bits to have. He just doesn't seem to understand that drinking while driving is not okay. And he's locked up for doing it again. We'll watch this parole hearing and I'll unpack it at the end.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Arjeny G DOC, inmate number 436171. He is serving a sentence of 7 years, executed suspended after serving 3 years, followed by 5 years probation for risk of injury, illegal operation of a commercial motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and illegal operation of a motor vehicle without a without ignition device. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of August 27th, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows he has completed anger management, and he's currently enrolled in ESL classes. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the low range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Olivares Galliano, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Hablar despacio para poder traducirlo, ¿ok?
Gracias, muy amable. Agradezco mucho por esta oportunidad que me están dando. Estuve luchando mucho para demostrar lo arrepentido que yo estoy de lo que cometí.
I am grateful for this opportunity, and I've been trying so hard to show how much remorse and how much I regret what I did.
Y hice todos los programas que de parte de la corte me mandaron para comprobar que yo estaba totalmente arrepentido y cumplí con mis programas afuera.
I completed all the programs that the court ordered me to do to show that I regret what happened, and I completed all the programs.
También me pusieron un brazalete para que yo cumpliera aún más. Para tenerme controlado, cumplí 1 año afuera con brazalete y sin embargo terminaron sentenciándome.
I even had a GPS bracelet for them to keep better control on me, but then I was with that bracelet for a whole year, but I still ended up coming here.
Y lamentablemente por falta de información pagué la última fianza de $18,000 para salir bajo fianza.
Exactly, for lack of information, I ended up paying $18,000 for bond for me to be able to be released.
Para yo demostrar de que quería mi libertad para luchar por mis 3 hijos, que tengo 1 en este país, en Estados Unidos, y 2 en Guatemala, mi
I
país.
was trying hard to show them that I was trying to fight for my freedom to take care of my kids. I have 1 in Guatemala and 2 in the United States.
Y me negaron los abogados defensores públicos. Y el último abogado que pagué solo fue para decirme que tenía que ser sentenciado.
I was denied by the public defenders, and the last lawyer that I paid, that I ended up paying, was just for me to know that I was still being sentenced.
Pero nunca me dijo que yo había hecho algo malo contra lo que me pedían para yo poder ser arrestado.
Never told me that I did anything wrong for me to end up being arrested.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Olivares Galliano. What is going to happen here is each of us will take an opportunity to ask you some questions. When we're done with our questions, we will deliberate and then give you a decision, and our decision will be final. I wish you the best of luck.
Gracias, muy amable.
Thank you. So, Mr. Oliveira Galliano, you have your reports today for risk of injury and driving under the influence. You have prior convictions for the same risk of injury, having children in the car while you're drinking and driving. I know you said you were fighting for your freedom. Do you understand that you cannot drive when your license is suspended for DWI, for driving under the influence of alcohol?
Recuerdo ese accidente cuando a mí me pusieron, ese era mi primer WI, 2018, cuando yo llevaba a un menor de edad conmigo. Reconozco ese error.
Remember that accident that was back in 2018 when there was a minor inside a vehicle and I got to that mistake.
Okay. Today, you're charged with driving under the influence, not having the ignition lock in your car, which was ordered because you had a prior driving under the influence of alcohol, and you have another risk of injury charge. Do you admit that you were drinking and driving?
Como repito, sí estoy de acuerdo en el accidente del 2018 y el nuevo incidente del 2022-23, del accidente que tuve en el agua hacia el muelle.
Yes, I admit. Actually, the one in 2018 and then the other one in 2022 or 2023 when I ended up having the accident of the car going into the water.
Right, okay. So, Mr. Oliveira Galliano, do you think you have a problem with alcohol?
Voy a ser honesto, en esos accidentes, en mi pasado, reconozco que era una persona ignorante, que no pensaba en las consecuencias de los daños que podía causar usando alcohol.
I'm going to be honest, during those accidents that happened in the past, I was an ignorant person and I was not thinking about the consequences of like doing it.
Y cuando cometí esos accidentes, desde que fui sometido a programas y cumpliendo con mi probatoria que tenía, nunca di una orina sucia. Es decir, he sido responsable de mis errores y los he reconocido.
When those accidents happened, I went to programs and when I was on probation, my urine was always clean.
And that's a good thing. My concern is that you had multiple convictions for driving while intoxicated. You drove your car into the water, putting yourself at risk and whoever else was in the car, because there appears that there was another person in the car. And then you have a domestic violence arrest where the children were present. And you have a conviction for strangulation, which you had an unconditional discharge. So I see that you have done the programs. You did anger management. You're working on your English as second language classes. I think those are all positive. My concern is that you have not taken a program to address your alcohol use, and you have not taken a program for domestic violence. So although I do think you've done very well in the facility, you work in the community, you seem to have support, I would not, I cannot really consider whether or not you're suitable for release without you having done some of those, one or two of those programs, preferably both.
Es un buen candidato para salir a la comunidad.
Yo desde que vine aquí a esta prisión de Brooklyn, me comentaron que yo tenía que hacer 2 programas y yo he estado dispuesto a cumplirlos. Y me han dicho que he estado en la lista en espera, pero no me han llamado, la verdad.
Since I got here to Brooklyn, I was told that I needed to complete 2 programs, and I am willing to take those programs, but then they tell me that I am on a wait list.
So I understand, Mr. Oliveira Galliano, that addiction services and domestic violence were not on your list of programs, and I'm not a little concerned that they were not. So I would not, I would like to see you do those programs and then come back before the board.
Yo entiendo que
Sí, yo estoy totalmente de acuerdo a hacer los programas que me digan. Incluso yo podría cumplirlos afuera. Yo aprovecharía esa oportunidad.
I totally agree on doing those programs, and I am willing to take them. Even I can do the programs outside.
I appreciate your willingness and you understand, but I would rather, because you were on probation for driving under the influence, I'm not certain that you appreciate the significance and the harm to the community of the charges. So I would be voting to have you do those programs before you come back into the community.
Thank you, panel member Palmieri. So, Mr. Galliano, are you currently in the Tier 4 program?
Sí, me dieron un programa con respecto a los niveles de sustancias de alcohol que había consumido. Lo estoy haciendo.
Yes, they give me a program. It's about substances and alcohol. I'm taking it.
Yeah, I think I saw that Officer Lodania in the,
It's tier
Tier 2.
oh, Tier 2. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Started in April.
Tier 2. And so it's slated to end in June. Is that right?
Se supone que culmine en junio, ¿es correcto?
Sí,
And is that program in Spanish?
El programa es en español.
sí.
So what have you learned so far?
¿Qué usted ha aprendido hasta el momento?
He aprendido mucho, la verdad. Ya cumplí un año de estar acá. Y
My apologies. Go ahead, sir.
¿Puede continuar?
he aprendido mucho, no tanto por el programa, sino por el año que yo tengo de estar ya acá. La verdad, ya pienso diferente, tengo nuevos planes de seguir estudiando, ayudar a mi familia, a mis hijos. Algo que afuera yo no lo tenía, esos planes.
I have learned a lot since I've been here, and not only because of the programs, but only because of the year that I've been here. I have a different mindset. I think different now. I have plans. I want to be going to school, and I have different plans on helping my family, things that I was not doing when I was outside. I wasn't thinking the same way.
Mr. Galliano, I'm going to need you to listen to the questions and answer the questions. I appreciate the feedback that you're offering, but I specifically asked about what you've learned in that program that you are in thus far.
¿Qué aprendió en este programa?
La verdad, he aprendido cómo poder controlar o cómo mantenerme alejado de esa adicción.
Honestly, I learned how to control or how to stay away from addiction.
And how do you do that?
¿Y cómo hace esto?
Primeramente, ya no relacionándome con las mismas personas que lo hacía antes.
First, not being with the same people that I was hanging out with before.
Y también he tomado la decisión de someterme a la religión cristiana.
And I also made the decision of becoming follow religion, Christian.
Algo que me ayuda a mantenerme siempre en la iglesia, haciendo cursos bíblicos y mantenerme alejado de toda clase de adicción.
Something that helps me, I've been taking Bible classes, and it helps me to stay away from addiction.
But my colleague asked you if you considered yourself an addict, and you said no.
Pero mi compañera le preguntó si usted se considera que usted es un adicto y usted dijo que no.
So I'm not sure. I mean, I can appreciate your newfound religion. However, when you're at a birthday party or at a wedding or your buddies are going drinking after work, how do you handle that?
La decisión la tomaría por mí mismo, decir no.
I have to make the decision myself to say no.
Right. Right. So the other thing that you spoke about with my colleague was the domestic violence piece. Do you think that you have an issue with intimate partner relationships?
Nunca los había tenido hasta que conocí esta persona que es la mamá de mi hijo. Y nunca había tenido esos problemas. Y por causa de ella, pues ella llamó, yo tuve que enfrentar las consecuencias.
I never had any problems before until I met this person, the mother of my child. She ended up calling, llamó que la policía.
Sí, ella llamó a la policía.
She called the police and I have to face the consequences.
So, okay, I'm not even going to go there. I have to be honest with you, Mr. Galliano. You seem to minimize your role in all of your crimes. I think you also minimize your substance abuse problem. And I think that you also minimize the impact that you that you have had on this victim. Strangulation is a very serious offense. You could have killed her. And then your family jumping in was even more concerning for me. So I, as my colleague stated, do not have you voted to parole today. I'm not sure that I would even bring you back, but that may be incentive for you to take another look at yourself and the responses to the board's questions, and may help you think a little differently. So I know that was a lot, Ms. Rivera, but
Mr. Olivera Gariano.
thank you. Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Galliano, you've already had a lot of the questions asked that I would have asked. Just one, you've taken anger management, correct?
Mr. Gariano, usted tomó manejo de ira, ¿es correcto?
Sí,
Can you just tell us what skills you learned from that? And have you had the opportunity, can you give an example of having used those skills while in the facility?
Sí, ese programa me ayudó mucho con respecto a la ira, cómo controlar mi ira.
That program helped me a lot and how to control my anger.
Y lo que yo he hecho acá, a donde estoy, es ponerme a leer, a escuchar música, a hacer ejercicio.
And what I have done here is I read, I listen to music, I work out.
Voy a la escuela, estaba estudiando para obtener el GD también.
Going to school in order to get my GED.
Okay. Thank you for answering that question. I don't really have a lot of questions. You know, it looks as if you are doing some things to try to improve your situation and who you are. I would also agree with my colleagues that it seems that there's still some additional programming that you might need to be able to take, especially to complete the addiction program, because you just started it. The cheer program, you really just started. And I think I would like to see also, you have voices on your waiting list that you haven't taken either. So I think there's still some programming that you need to kind of help you make a more positive and successful transition back into the community at some point. But thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I'm going to go ahead and make the motion to deny Mr. Oliveras Galeano's 436171 discretionary parole. We've all said that we wouldn't vote him to parole today. And I'm going to assume that the reason for the denial today is for lack of program participation and inadequate evidence of offensive change. Yes. I would also move to rehear Mr. Galeano, I would say in December of 2024, so that he could complete domestic violence and the Tier 2 program that he's already in and continue working on his GED. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Galeano.
Voy a seguir hacia adelante y hacer una moción para negar la salida de bajo libertad condicional de Mr. Arjeny G Galeano, número 436-171, por las siguientes razones: inadecuada participación en programas institucionales, inadecuada evidencia de cambio en el ofensor, pero a la misma vez, pues es una nueva fecha para volverlo a ver. Me da la oportunidad para usted completar el programa de violencia doméstica y el programa de CIER, donde está ahora mismo.
So you're not eligible for parole until August of this year. So we'll rehear you in December, okay? Go back and do whatever you can before you come back to the board, okay?
Usted no es elegible para salir en libertad condicional hasta agosto de este año, entonces le vamos a dar una nueva fecha para verlo en diciembre. Vaya a llegar todo lo que pueda para cuando lo volvamos a ver en diciembre.
Ok, me parece bien. Gracias y muy amable.
Okay, I find that it's okay, thank you.
Good luck, sir.
Buena suerte.
Thank you.
Fournier, I will take Trividay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So they denied him, but they're giving him a rehearing in December. So in like what, 6 months or 5 months. And I guess we'll cover that rehearing and show it to you when that happens. But man, I mean, the guy is clueless quite clearly and incredibly dangerous. Of course, just the idea that he drives a car into a lake with people in the car, and then that happens. I think it was in 2018 where he got the risk of injury to a child. Thank you for sharing the info. We don't have any news articles, just his record. And he was given a 3-year sentence, but execution, suspended, probation, 3 years. So he didn't have to serve any of his 3-year sentence for doing that. And guess what happened? He violated it. He also has, let's see, this is the same, the same sentence for operating a vehicle with a child. And then he has, in 2020, he has illegal operation of a vehicle under the influence. So that's his second DUI. He was sentenced to 120 days in jail. So he has his 2018, his 2020. Then he has his 2019 illegal operation motor vehicle without his ignition device. So, and that was, let's see, they gave him 364 days in jail, but they suspended it after 30 days. So they said, you'll spend 30 days in jail. And then finally, we have why he's here today, which is June 5th, 2022. And he was sentenced on 4/18/2023, which was a year and 2 months ago at the time of this hearing. And that's when he had his, it's interesting how they pack in the sentencing into one sentence. I wonder how that happens, but he has his strangulation, 3rd degree, and he has the risk of injury to a child. But I guess that's what sentenced him to this. Okay, so that's what got him in. The guy is just, it's unbelievable, really. And, but at least the judge gave somewhat of a decent sentence, 7 years. But executed suspended after 3. So it's really just 3-year sentence. And he got parole opportunity 14 months in. And now he's going to get another shot at it. So they're trying to get him out after him serving like 2 years on his sentence. And you can clearly tell he's learned nothing, taking no accountability. The guy is just like, what was it? Oh yeah, I found religion. That's how I'll stop drinking. And I like how he was called out on it. Like, I'm really happy you have your newfound religion, but what are you going to do to stop drinking? And it's like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. They're going to end up releasing him into the streets again. And what do you think is going to happen? And that's why I said this is a Marabella hearing. They need to send him to Steve Hoyle. Like, there has to be some type of program. Not that it would make a difference. It just, I don't know about you, but I just felt his like negative energy through the hearing. Just like no accountability, nothing there. And what's it take to over and over and over to get in a car and drive with children in the car? Just how, not, to do it over and over and over again. You're dangerous, man. You're dangerous. And anyways, thank you, Richard, for calling out this hearing. And with that, I'll let you go.